Every time a giant merger is announced, headlines tell us the same story: synergies, efficiency, growth. We're told these deals are signs of confidence, proof that the global economy is healthy, optimistic, and moving forward. But here's the mystery most people never ask. Why do the biggest mergers and acquisitions always seem to happen right before something breaks? Why do deal volumes surge at the peak of optimism and vanish when the world needs them most? Why do the same promises repeat across decades, even though most megadeals fail to deliver what they promise? Tonight, we're not just talking about mergers and acquisitions. We're uncovering the hidden cycles of power, capital, and confidence that drive global deal activity, and why understanding them might tell you more about the future of the economy than any headline ever will. Setting the stage, the machinery behind deals. To understand global M&A, we first need to understand what a deal really is. On the surface, a merger or acquisition looks simple. One company buys another. But beneath that surface lies an entire financial ecosystem: banks, private equity firms, institutional investors, regulators, and governments, all pulling on the same rope. M&A thrives on three invisible forces: cheap money, confidence in future growth, a belief that scale equals safety. These forces didn't appear overnight. They were built over decades, shaped by wars, monetary policy, deregulation, and technological revolutions. And like any powerful machine, once it starts moving, it's incredibly hard to stop. Origins, the birth of modern M&A. Modern M&A as we know it began in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, during the age of industrial consolidation. Railroads merged to control routes. Steel companies combined to dominate production. Oil giants swallowed competitors to command price and power. The logic was simple: bigger meant stronger. Governments largely allowed this consolidation, believing large corporations could stabilize markets and fuel national growth. Antitrust laws existed, but enforcement was uneven and often reactive. The first lesson of M&A was born here. When markets expand faster than regulation, consolidation fills the gap. This pattern would repeat again and again. RISE, the golden age of deals. Fast forward to the late 20th century. Financial deregulation, globalization, and the rise of capital markets transformed M&A from an industrial strategy into a financial weapon. Investment banks refined deal-making into an art form. Leveraged buyouts turned debt into fuel. Private equity emerged as a dominant force, buying companies not to build them, but to restructure, extract value, and sell again. By the 1990s and early 2000s, global M&A exploded. Deals were no longer about survival, they were about growth narratives, cross-border expansion, market synergies, shareholder value creation. Stock prices rewarded acquisitions. CEOs were celebrated for deal size, not deal success. And then came the most dangerous ingredient of all: cheap money. Cause and effect: why cheap money changes everything. When interest rates fall, borrowing becomes easy. When borrowing is easy, risk feels invisible. When risk feels invisible, deal size explodes. This is why M&A waves almost always align with periods of loose monetary policy. Capital doesn't ask, "Is this deal necessary?" It asks, "Where else can I go?" As central banks flooded markets with liquidity, global deal activity surged. Companies bought growth instead of building it. Investors chased scale instead of sustainability. And the machine kept accelerating. Breaking point: when the cycle turns, every M&A boom carries the seeds of its own collapse. At first, deals are strategic. Then they become competitive. Finally, they become desperate. Late-cycle mergers often happen for the wrong reasons: to hide slowing organic growth, to satisfy shareholders demanding expansion, to justify executive compensation tied to deal size. History shows a chilling pattern. The largest, most expensive deals tend to happen right before downturns. Why? Because by the time everyone agrees a deal makes sense, valuations are inflated, synergies are exaggerated, and risks are ignored. Then something shifts. Interest rates rise, credit tightens, consumer demand weakens. Suddenly, the math no longer works. What happens after the deals? When the cycle breaks, the consequences ripple outward. Companies that relied on debt-financed acquisitions face balance sheet stress. Promised synergies fail to materialize. Layoffs follow as cost-cutting replaces growth. Shareholders who cheered the deal often underperform the market. Employees pay the price. Communities lose jobs and investment. And quietly, deal activity collapses. Not because companies stop wanting to grow, but because the conditions that made growth easy no longer exist. This is the moment when M&A freezes, valuations reset, and confidence disappears. Failed fixes why the same mistakes repeat. After every crash, reforms are promised. Regulators tighten oversight. Boards demand better due diligence. Banks claim they've learned restraint. But the fixes rarely last. Why? Because the incentives never truly change. Executives are still rewarded for size. Banks are still paid for volume. Investors still chase returns in a competitive capital market. And when the next wave of cheap money arrives, the same logic returns, just with new buzzwords. Digital transformation. Platform dominance. AI-driven synergies. Different language, same cycle. Modern parallels today's deal landscape. Today, global M&A tells a familiar story. After years of ultra-low interest rates, deal volumes surged across technology, healthcare, energy, and finance. Cross-border acquisitions returned. Megadeals dominated headlines. But now, conditions are shifting again. Higher interest rates, tighter financing. Increased regulatory scrutiny, rising geopolitical risk. Once more, deal activity is slowing, not because ambition disappeared, but because the cost of mistakes is rising. And here's the shocking parallel. Many of today's deals mirror the same patterns seen before previous downturns. Optimism at the top, caution too late, and consequences pushed into the future. The deeper truth, what M&A really measures. Global M&A is often treated as a sign of economic strength. But history suggests something more complex. M&A is not a predictor of growth. It asks a reflection of confidence in capital itself. When money is abundant, deals flourish. When uncertainty rises, deals vanish. The cycle doesn't measure innovation. It measures belief. And belief, as history shows, is fragile. 3 clear takeaways. Takeaway number 1. M&A booms are not random. They are cyclical, driven by money, incentives, and psychology. Takeaway number 2. The biggest deals often signal late-stage optimism, not long-term strength. Takeaway number 3. Every generation believes this time is different, and every cycle proves otherwise. Warning, open-ended thought. The real danger isn't mergers themselves. It's forgetting why they happen and who truly benefits when they fail. As the next wave of global deals forms, the question isn't how big will they be. It's who will be left holding the consequences when the cycle turns again. Call to action. If you want to understand the global economy, don't just watch markets, watch the deals. If this breakdown helped you see M&A differently, like the video, subscribe for more deep dives into global finance and share this with someone who still believes every merger is a sign of progress. Because the next headline deal may not be a story of growth. It may be a warning hiding in plain sight.